So this has happened for like the third time in the last couple of months. A smaller game comes out of nowhere and just decimates some of the bigger releases alongside it. Just a day ago, Arc Raiders dropped like a nuke and just vaporized the big AAA games, peaking around at 264,000 concurrent players and becoming the #1 top seller on Steam, for now at least. Similarly, Escape from Duckov, another even smaller indie game made by just 5 Chinese dudes, has also been dominating the Steam charts with 200,000 concurrent players on average almost every single day consistently. And this has been a trend this year. Most indie games have been massively successful, selling millions of copies, while most AAA games are just doing okay at best. Now, since VG Analytics is not yet available for Arc Raiders at the time of me making this video, according to Gamealytics, and take this with a grain of salt, the game is estimated to have sold 1.5 million copies, already bringing in $57 million in revenue. Meanwhile, a much bigger game like Outer Worlds 2, a game so big that Microsoft thought it deserves to be priced at $80 by the way, has only managed to sell 107,000 copies, making around $7 million. And according to VG Analytics, the number is even more embarrassing, with the game reportedly selling around just 68,000 copies and making around $3.8 million. However, at the time of me making this video, the game has peaked at 16,000 concurrent players, so at least it's getting closer to a WoW. Now, just by the way, the game barely runs at 45 FPS on a 5090, while Arc Raiders, despite being made on the same Unreal Engine 5, costing around half the price of Outer Worlds 2, still runs at 90 FPS on a 1080 Ti. But anyhow, now to no one's surprise, Outer Worlds 2 is reviewing very well. Just look at all these so-called critics showering the game with praise. The same people who didn't even bother showing up for Arc Raiders or Escape from Duckov, but more on that in a bit. Now, there have been some people online trying to defend Outer Worlds 2 by blaming the current economic conditions. And while they're not entirely wrong, I mean, Outer Worlds 2 would have sold much better if the game dropped for $40. But let's be honest, good games sell, bad games don't. In other news, there are more airplanes in the ocean than submarines in the sky. But it's not actually that simple. Cause here's the thing, Ninja Gaiden 4, another AAA game, is being outperformed by the same indie games. I mean, Outer Worlds 2 was pretty much dead on arrival, we all saw that coming. But I've seen some insane hype around Ninja Gaiden 4. On paper, the game seems to be doing everything right. The reviews are also mostly positive, but the game has peaked at only 11,217 concurrent players on Steam. According to VG Analytics, it has sold around 124,000 copies so far and made roughly $7 million, which to be fair isn't terrible since Ninja Gaiden is considered a niche series, and while its fan base is dedicated, it's still not that huge. Ninja Gaiden 3 only managed to sell around 600,000 copies back in the day, and the fans didn't really like it. But from what I've heard so far, this new one is much better than the third one. It's more like a return to form, and fans are loving it. So the question is, why is it not performing? Why, despite all the positive reviews, both Ninja Gaiden 4 and Outer Worlds 2 are not performing better? Well, the first thing is the price. I mean, there are other factors for Outer Worlds 2 to underperform, which I'll get into in just a bit, but the thing is, Ninja Gaiden 4 should have been doing way better than this. So first of all, I fail to understand why the is this game priced at $70? Because you might disagree with me, but Ninja Gaiden 4 looks like a PS4 game and plays like a PS3 game. On top of that, it only takes around 15 to 20 hours to beat. It might not be a problem for some people, but for me, the length of the story matters. I'm not gonna pay $70 for a game like this, no matter how good the reviews are. And that seems to be the case for many people, because there are fans of the game who are waiting for a heavy discount, and I don't blame them. There have been like a dozen major AAA titles that came out this year. If you bought even like 8 of them, you've already spent around $600 on games alone, and that's just ridiculous. Not to mention that most of these games have been disappointing to say the least. And now with Ninja Gaiden 4, Outer Worlds 2 and Call of Duty Black Ops 7 just on the horizon, that number is pushing close to $800. Not many people can afford to spend that kind of money on a hobby, no matter how much they love the hobby. I myself am waiting for a sale simply because I can't afford to buy every AAA game out there. I'm just a small YouTuber. Which brings us to the sponsor of today's video, myself. So yeah, if you're new to the channel and enjoying the content, please hit that subscribe button. We're close to hitting 1,000 subs and it would mean a lot. Also, don't forget to drop a like or dislike on the video and your mockery for Outer Worlds 2 in the comments down below. Thank you. Now, I did some digging into what might be the budget for Ninja Gaiden 4, and while there are no official numbers available, there are estimates that the game might have costed around $60 to $100 million. So this is not exactly a big AAA game, that's for certain. Neither does it feel like one. This is a AA game, and so is Outer Worlds 2. So why do they have a AAA price tag? especially when just a few months back a game like Mafia: The Old Country dropped for just $50, a game that looked and played like a high-quality game with a decent story that took around 10 to 15 hours to beat. Clear Obscure Expedition 33 is another great example, priced at just $50 yet offering way more quality content than most big AAA games out there. That is value for money. So in my opinion, this standard pricing of $70 need to go. It should be a ceiling instead of being a standard. Let me explain. The base price of games was raised to account for inflation, increase in development costs and tariffs and whatnot. And it is understandable for games like Horizon Forbidden West or God of War or Battlefield 6, titles that reportedly took around $200 to $600 million to develop. But for a game like, let's say, Assassin's Creed Shadows, that according to Ubisoft CEO costed over $112 million, which is a lie by the way, that $70 price tag is not justified. Games like this, Ghost of Yotei, Ninja Gaiden 4, Outer Worlds 2, they should be priced anywhere between $40 to $60 max. So instead of sticking to a standard price, I think all these games should be priced independently. I believe if Ninja Gaiden 4 dropped for $50, it would have sold way better. And even Outer Worlds 2, it might have sold 1,000 more copies if it dropped for $20. At this point, the only games that can somewhat justify the $70 price tag are Grand Theft Auto 6 and maybe Crimson Desert. Other than that, I don't see any other game offering that kind of value. And that's why players are picking up Arc Raiders for $40 or Escape from Duckov for just $18 and actually having a ton of fun. And you know what's the main reason why these games are blowing up? Word of mouth. That's it. No million-dollar marketing campaigns, no shill reviews, no fake hype, just pure word of mouth. And this once again brings us back to Outer Worlds 2, which despite being drooled over by game journals and backed by insane marketing is still following in the footsteps of Avowed, which is not really surprising, but anyhow. What blows my mind is that Arc Raiders came out literally a day after Outer Worlds 2 and absolutely destroyed it. Now yes, once again, while price does play a role, one more reason why the players didn't show up for Outer Worlds 2 is simply because the game was not made for them. It was made for an audience that does not exist. On the other hand, Arc Raiders looks like a game that's actually made for the gamers. Escape from Duckov looks like a game that's actually made for the gamers. There's no political bullshit shoved into these games. There's no forced messaging about gender equality, inclusion, fascism, capitalism, consumerism, and I don't even know what other kind of isms these activists get off to. And that's exactly the reason why these so-called critics and game journals don't even want to review these games. Just look at how only 10 critics reviewed Escape from Duckov and not even 4 reviewed Arc Raiders, while these exact same people were out in full force to support their Game of the Year contender even before it came out. They also tried to pin the success of Escape from Duckov on the fact that it was mostly popular in China. You can clearly spot that its player count spikes in the evenings for China's time zone, about half its peak count is happening at 10 PM Pacific, and that 64% of its user reviews on Steam are in Chinese. And while that is true, Outer Worlds 2 is a global release as well. And since the game is filled with capitalism bad messaging, shouldn't it be more appealing to the Chinese audience? But I guess they don't give a damn about the politics and just care about if the game is good. How crazy is that? And also, Steam doesn't separate players by geography. It just treats everyone as a gamer and that's it. So I think it's time for these people to come to terms with the fact that the games they want to succeed just suck ass. But anyhow, both Arc Raiders and Escape from Duckov have been met with overwhelmingly positive reception by the actual gamers, and I've only heard good things about these games so far. I mean, I'm not even a fan of the extraction shooter genre. I tried the operations mode once in Delta Force and never really bothered again. However, these two games look hella fun, and who knows, I might even end up picking one up soon. The thing is, we've seen time and time again that corporate nonsense and politics, whether it's left, right, or whatever, has no place in gaming. Kick out the activists, let the actual game devs, you know, the ones who actually care about making good games, let them do their jobs and the games will sell. That's how it used to be, and that's how it should have stayed. The gamers were never the problem. It's these nonsense activists that hijacked gaming and messed it all up. Anyways, I'll leave you at that. If you have played Arc Raiders or Escape from Duckov, do share your thoughts on them in the comments down below. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.